Hello and welcome to another collection video. This is part 2 of my PS1 collection. If you haven't seen the first part, go back and watch it. It is a future classic. And speaking of classic, there is one on your screen right now. I'm starting this vid off with Final Fantasy VII, but I also have Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX. Okay, so a lot has been said already about Final Fantasy VII, so I won't talk too much about it. It's the main game that the system is known for. I will say that it is a great RPG, but not my favorite. I'll show you what my favorite RPG is later on. And I haven't even played Final Fantasy VIII, so I can't say too much about this. I did, however, play the Final Fantasy VIII demo that came with the Pizza Hut demo disc. Remember those? Anyway, all games are complete in box. All games have their disc and manuals. And no, this is not the misprint of Final Fantasy VII. The word masterpiece is spelled correctly on the back. And like I said before, I only played the demo version of Final Fantasy VIII. The reason why I haven't played this yet is because I have a lot of games in my backlog. Have you seen my other collection videos? Other games come first, but I'll be sure to get on this one real soon, so I can see how hot Squall really is. And Final Fantasy IX is one of the best RPGs on this system, and I think is even better than Final Fantasy VII. Steiner, Vivi, Freya are some of the best party members you can have, and I have a lot of fun memories with this game. I should replay this. Wait, no. I need to play Final Fantasy VIII before playing this one again. And Zidane is one of the best protagonists in Final Fantasy history. I really do like the character arcs in this game. It's really fleshed out. And You Are Not Alone is a masterpiece. Oh, you thought I was done talking about Final Fantasy? Think again, because now we have Final Fantasy Chronicles and Final Fantasy Anthology. These are both compilation discs. Final Fantasy Chronicles has Final Fantasy IV and Chrono Trigger, while Final Fantasy Anthology has Final Fantasy V and VI. Okay, so I have not played Final Fantasy IV nor Chrono Trigger yet, but I will be playing Chrono Trigger very soon. I do know there are extra features included in the PS1 version of these games that wasn't in the Super Nintendo versions. Like there's a 2-player mode for Final Fantasy IV. There are extra cutscenes. The loading times are supposed to be quicker. And there's probably a few more that I'm forgetting. Moving on to Final Fantasy Anthology that has Final Fantasy V and VI. And as of making of this video, I've only beaten 5, hadn't even touched 6 yet. I remember liking Final Fantasy V. The story was okay, but I remember hating the job system and how much of a grind it was to level up all the classes. But I did like how you can combine some of the classes. But I think both of these games contain new cutscenes in the beginning and the end, is what I read. Final Fantasy VI looks fun. I can't wait to start playing that, but again, my backlog is huge, so it'll be a while till I actually play it. Chrono Cross. Yet another game I haven't played yet, because I want to play Chrono Trigger before I start playing this. What I do know about this game is that you can recruit a lot of party members. I don't think you can even recruit them in the same playthrough. There has to be multiple playthroughs, and it's a turn-based RPG. You can have 3 members in your party for battle. And I heard the map theme, the world map theme, is amazing. It puts me to sleep, but in a good way. Is this as good as Chrono Trigger? I know this recently got ported to newer consoles, so somebody must like it. So you thought I was done showing off RPGs? Nope, because here's Alundra. This is a RPG from Working Designs. This is a 2D top-down RPG where you play as the main character, Alundra, and he has the ability to enter people's dreams. The manual is thick as hell, by the way. I haven't even finished reading it. This is a very challenging RPG where you must do some puzzle solving. There's platforming, and it looks like something that would have came out on the Super Nintendo or Genesis. Just like Zelda, this game is truly a classic. I wish I can say the same thing about this next game, Alundra 2. Alundra 2 was done by Activision. It's in 3D, and you play as a character named Flint. To be honest, this game isn't as good as the original Alundra. It doesn't control as well, and just like the last game, there are hard platforming sections, and the enemies do a lot of damage, especially if you're playing on normal mode. It also doesn't take itself as serious as the first game. A good thing about this game is that it's more affordable than the first Alundra. The only thing these two games have in common with each other is that it both has the word Alundra in the title. Both games are so different. Gekido is a 3D side-scrolling beat-em-up. It's hard to see on the cover, but it says there's music from Fatboy Slim and Apartment 26, which fits very well in this game. Along with the beat-em-up mode, there's also a one-on-one, survivor, team battle, arena battle, and a shadow fighter mode where you can team up with CPU-controlled allies. It's a pretty fun game, but the bosses are too tough in my opinion. The highlight of this game is beating up hordes of enemies while Fatboy Slim, Funk Soul Brother plays in the background. Gex, Enter the Gecko is a 3D platformer. So you play as a lizard and you get zapped into a television, and the levels are designed on the different channels that you will find on cable TV. There's this cartoon level that's based on something you'd see in Looney Tunes. There's a horror movie channel where you got to explore a haunted mansion, and there is a kung fu level where you can pull off flying kicks. I remember this game having a wonky camera. It might be the worst camera that I've ever experienced in a game, period. All the while Gex is saying one-liners that gets pretty old fast. Grind Session is the second best skateboarding game that's on the PS1. You can probably guess which comes in first place. The gameplay is decent. I remember you had to collect some keys to unlock a skate mansion at the end. I remember this game being in development before Tony Hawk 1, but Tony Hawk 1 ended up coming out before this one. But both games feature some of the same levels in them. Both games are great, but I actually prefer Grind Session over the first Tony Hawk game, but it's not as good as Tony Hawk 2. Okay, we have another RPG. This time it's Grandia. This is a 2D turn-based RPG, and I haven't even beaten this game yet. I only played it to make sure that it worked, which it does. And the story seemed good so far. You play with a kid named Justin and his sister, I want to say, or maybe a female friend that's just like a sister. I forgot what her name was. Anyway, they go off and explore nearby ruins and find an ancient artifact, and their journey sets off from there. That's the only thing I can remember for now. But the story seemed good so far. Can't wait to play this fully. Oh, and this just got remastered for the PS4 and the Xbox One. And I'll follow that one up with an action RPG, the Grand Stream Saga. Battles take place in real time. It's like a top-down view. And the weird thing about this game is the characters don't have any faces during normal gameplay. They have facial features in cutscenes and on the box art only, but I always found that strange. Maybe they ran out of budget. In my opinion, this game got kind of forgotten because it came out the same year as Final Fantasy VII and Wild Arms. But this is still a good game in its own right. I enjoyed it. And now we have Guilty Gear. Hands down, it's the most hardest fighting game that's on the system. And no, there isn't a difficulty setting that's in the options menu. You just gotta get good. So I don't have a main for this game, but I like playing with Kai and Dr. Baldhead, aka Faust. It's a pretty good game. It even has a rockin' soundtrack. It's mostly rock and metal music, and it fits the mood perfectly, because the music makes the battles even more intense. And I will say, even though this game is fun, it still has one of the most hardest boss fights ever. Fighting Justice is never easy. Another game that's not easy, yet wacky at the same time, is Incredible Crisis. So this is a collection of mini games. It's similar to the WarioWare series. So there's a bunch of zany and wacky mini games that's very challenging yet funny at the same time. And you play as 4 family members, a mom, a dad, a daughter, a son, and the game takes place in the course of one day. But the best mini games is when you play as the patriarch of the family. The sounds that he makes when he freaks out are still stuck in my head to this day. Oh yeah, did I mention that you can't freak out too much or you'll lose? If you can find this game, get it. It's super fun, but I gotta warn you, it's a real button masher. You know I couldn't go too long without showing another RPG. This time it's Jade Cocoon. So the premise is you take control of a cocoon master. His name is Levant, and he lives in a village that gets cursed. Like most of its inhabitants gets put into a deep sleep. And you go into the forest and catch a bunch of monsters and battle them. Sort of like Pokemon. All while you're on a quest to find a special herb that'll cure everybody in the village that got put into the deep sleep. So I haven't beaten this yet because it has tank controls and I'm not really a fan of tank controls. But the interesting thing about this game is the fusion of monsters. Like you can combine two monsters and the outcome of the two monsters will inherit the characteristics of the two monsters you just fused, and the results can get really crazy looking. Speaking of crazy looking, check out this cover art for this next game, Jumping Flash 2. This is a first-person shooter where you play as a robotic rabbit. And the main objective of the game is to recapture these escaped creatures called Moo-Moos. And at the same time, you're shooting at enemies, platforming, performing triple bunny hops. It's kind of a trippy game. To tell the truth, I'm not really into first-person shooters like that, but I do recommend this game, especially over the first one, because this one is more affordable. The controls and the mechanics are a little bit better than the first Jumping Flash. This next game is a throwback, Q*bert. And to be honest, I don't really understand what kind of character this is supposed to be. All I know is that the character hops diagonally from block to block, changing the color of the block and at the same time avoiding enemies. You can switch the graphics to the 1982 version. That is, if you don't like playing with the 1999 or modern version. So that's a nice bonus. This next game is the only tactical RPG I have for the PS1. I don't know if you can see the name of it, but it's called Cartia. So there's two different characters you can play as, cover girl Lacrima and the male character Toxa. There are two separate stories you can play through, but both stories are connected, and this game isn't long at all. I beat it after playing 8, maybe 10 hours. And the gameplay revolves around the war. You can use magic or Cartia to create spells, to summon phantoms to fight alongside you. It's one of those Atlas RPGs that not many people know about, but it's just as expensive as other Atlas titles on this system. Luckily, I purchased it right before pandemic and the increase in prices. And I think this game is actually called something different in PAL regions. Rebus, I think. I don't know why it's called that, but it's a decent game if you like strategy RPGs. Moving on to the next game, which is Kensei. Kensei is a fighting game that came out in 1998. To tell the truth, this game is basic AF. It really couldn't compare to the other fighting games which was out at the time. And it does have a decent sized roster, but one thing that's notable about this game is one of the characters is based off of Steven Seagal. I think his name is Douglas. I thought that was interesting because he's just as stiff as Steven Seagal is in real life. There were two other characters that I like playing with. If only I could remember their name. I'll probably add a screenshot later. The characters are very generic, but I like playing with the dude that was wearing the flannel and the short-haired girl. Their combos were easy to pull off, and for some strange reason, there is a racing mode you can unlock. The only other fighting game I can think of that has a bonus racing mode is Erguys, which I showed earlier, so I thought that was neat. A more popular fighting game would be King of Fighters 99, which came out a year after Kensei. So what sets this game apart is you can pick a 4-member team. The first 3 characters you can use in battle normally, but the 4th member you can use as somewhat as a summon. I remember playing with King, K-Dash, and Vanessa. Yeah, Vanessa was my girl. She has a mean left hook, and I think she's on the back cover. Yeah, there she is, standing next to Seth. And I will say, this game features some of my favorite stages in a video game. The area that you fight in. I really like when fighting games put an airport as one of their stages. They're always so cool looking. Okay, now it's time for my favorite RPG on the system, The Legend of Dragoon. This is the very first RPG I've ever played on the system, and it always stuck with me because I first played the demo on the Pizza Hut demo disc. What I really like about the game is the battle system. You have to time your button presses with the button prompts, which pop up on the screen, and I don't have the manual for this game, sadly. What a shame. I don't have a manual for my favorite RPG on this system. And I do like, on the 4 discs, that the battle theme always changes depending on which disc you're on. It keeps things interesting. And of course I have to mention how good the menu theme is when you pause the game. And I like the gimmick of the characters transforming into a dragon so they can become more powerful. and it blew me away when I was a kid. And I'm still mad that this game didn't get a sequel, unlike this next game, Legend of Legaia. This is another turn-based RPG, and I do have the manual for this. So you play as 3 characters, Gala, Vaughn, and Noah, and they go on an adventure to rid the world of mists that basically ruin their lives. So the mist causes monsters to appear, and they gotta defeat the monsters and defeat the source of where the mist is coming from. It's a pretty long game, but I liked it. What I liked about this is that when you went to equip new weapons or equipment, it actually appears on the character during gameplay, well, at least during the battles. And the combat consists of high, low, left, or right attack, and you can learn new attacks depending on which order you use these attacks in, which is rather unique. So are you tired of RPGs yet? Well, too bad, because here's another one. Legend of Mana. I wish I had more to say about this, but I haven't even played it yet. I bought this from some dude I met off Craigslist, and he was selling it for cheap. All I know is that it's a RPG, and it's very easy to get lost. So I can't say that I'm looking forward to getting lost. Oh, and I think it did get ported to the Switch and PS4. Which port is better for those who have played this? Well, anyway, it's yet another game that's in my backlog. And you want to know what else is in my backlog? Saga Frontier 2. This is yet another game I have yet to play. It is an RPG. I did start this game up, and the weird thing about it is that as soon as you start the game up, they put you in battle. Just like all of a sudden you're fighting in a war or something. So I still need to beat Saga Frontier 1 with 2 more characters before I even attempt this. I'm not sure if this is following the same storyline, but I just want to complete the first Saga Frontier before I start the second game. Just makes sense to me. I swear I have too many fighting games, but this is a classic nonetheless. Marvel vs. Capcom. In case you've been living under a rock, this is a one-on-one versus fighting game where you can play as some of the more popular Marvel and Capcom characters. And I still have the receipt for this. Let's see how much I paid for it. $35. Wow. Okay. That's way cheap compared to today. It goes for over $100 complete in box nowadays. And I got this back in 2010. Anyways, so besides Chun-Li, I like playing with Ryu and Mega Man on the Capcom side. But on the Marvel side, I like playing with Spider-Man, Wolverine, and the Hulk. This is an excellent 2D fighter. The graphics are inspired by comic books, and it looks amazing. I can say the same thing about this next game, Marvel Superheroes. But I like to call it Marvel vs. Marvel because there's nothing but Marvel characters in this. Well, there is a secret character from a Capcom series, but I'm not going to spoil who that is. This is the one with Thanos in it, I believe. And you got to use the Infinity Gems to take him down. Like you will be fighting and the Infinity Gems will appear and you would have to collect them. They have various effects. I remember there was a gem that could make you more powerful. Another one could heal you. And another one could make you faster. I had a lot of fun beating up Thanos. It's probably the easiest game in the Marvel series. Oh man, this game. This is Eminem Shell Shocked. This is a platformer where you can play as the 2 M&Ms, the red one and the yellow one. They were really popular around this time and they got their own game. But it is not good. It doesn't even compare to the average platformers on the system. This game tried to be Crash Bandicoot, but it failed miserably. One thing to note is that this game starts off with driving stages. This happens for the first couple of stages. Usually in platformers, you start off on the ground and you're jumping from place to place. I thought that was kind of odd when you started driving in the first level. Y'all should just stick to making candy. Since we're on the subject of terrible games, I have another one I like to show off. Mary-Kate and Ashley, Magical Mystery Mall. Just like the M&Ms, Mary-Kate and Ashley was very popular. Anyway, the twins are stuck in the mall and the mall is placed under a spell. And you have to play these janky ass mini games in order to be set free. There are mini games like snowboarding, another one where they have you dancing, and another one where you stalk cute boys. Yeah. But I beat it on stream. The video is still up here in case you want to laugh. Here it is. Another terrible game I like to show off today is Miracle Space Race. This is a racing game that came out in 03, I believe. and you play as these cutesy animals. I don't know if you see the unicorn on the cover right here, but you go around racing in space. What makes this game terrible is the delay controls, and most of the levels look the same. It's kind of hard to distinguish some of these levels when you're going to pick them, especially if you've never been into space before, because all these levels look the same. And I don't want to play with these animals with the big eyes and the big heads and the little bodies. What are animals even doing in space in the first place? Now here's a game that makes more sense. Monsters Inc. So this is a platformer. If you've seen the movie it's based off on, then you know exactly what the premise is. You pick two monsters, Mike and Scully, and you go around scaring little kids. And my case is broken, but it's all good. I can replace it. Any game that lets you scare kids is A-okay in my book. It's not a bad game at all. And I didn't think scaring little kids would be as fun as it was, but it is. This might sound creepy or weird, but I like the little sound effect that they make when the kids scream. They're not real kids, okay? They're robots. Personally, I think that sound effect is up there with the GTA 3 sound when you run over the pedestrian. Okay, enough of that. So this next game was my very first game that I owned for the PS1. Mortal Kombat 4. Compared to the other Mortal Kombat games, this game was considered bad. But as bad as this game was, I had fun with it back in the day. This is the only game I would play because my parents wouldn't get me anything else for a while. And to this day, it has one of my favorite designs for the ninjas. You know, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Smoke. But I don't know what happened to Reptile. Like, this is the ugliest design for Reptile ever. Like, what is this? If you go through the arcade ladder and beat everybody, you will unlock a movie. That was done for the first time in this game. And I will say the indie movies are some of the baddest and hilarious indie movies ever in a video game. Especially the Jax, Sonya Blade, and Jarek indie movies. I can quote those because I watched them so many times. I can go on and on about this game. This has a special place in my heart since it was the very first PS1 game I ever owned. But I need to get to these other video games. This next game is from the same series and is considered an even worse game. This is Mortal Kombat Mythologies, Sub-Zero. This is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you play as Sub-Zero. The events in this game take place before the first Mortal Kombat game. I found this at a pawn shop, wedged in between two shelves, so I had to grab the game and at the same time hold up the shelf and prevent it from tipping over while I grabbed it. I remember the other games that were on sale that day at the pawn shop were a bunch of Maddens and NBA shootouts, but this was the only different game I could find, and I actually paid $3 for this. I'm proud of that fact. I'm over here showing out the receipt. So what makes this game bad is the terrible controls, the platforming. Sometimes you're making blind jumps and you don't know where you need to jump to. The enemies are cheap. They can kill you in an instant, and it's very easy to die. You'll be seeing that game over screen a bunch of times. At least I know I did. Yeah, this game is not easy. And no, I do not have the Jax game. I think it was called Special Forces. As much as I love Jax as a character, I've been purposely avoiding that game, but I had Mortal Kombat Trilogy. Mortal Kombat Trilogy is a fighting game where it brought back every character that was in previous installments. I think it was the first game to actually do that. You can choose to fight 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or 3-on-3. This game was crazy fun. And I think there's still tournaments being held where they play this game competitively, but I was never really that good at it. But I will say the PlayStation 1 version of this game is not the best. It's buggy. For instance, if you play in 2-player mode and you let the time expire, the game will freeze. And when you play as Shang Tsung and morph into a different character, there's a loading screen that pops up and it just kills the momentum when you're fighting against another character. So there is another Marvel game I have, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. I actually got this for free and for being a loyal customer. So the owner of the store saw me looking at this game behind the glass. I told him that I wanted it, and he just let me have it for free. And it was the last Marvel game that I needed for my collection. And I am very thankful and lucky to have this in my collection because the price of this game is well over $100. And the same owner let me have a bunch of PS1 and PS2 demo discs that he had just sitting around. So yeah, he has a customer for life within me. But about the game, this is a fighting game. You can pick some of your favorite Marvel and Street Fighter characters. It's the crossover that we didn't know we needed. This will forever be iconic. I streamed this on Twitch and I beat it with Wolverine and Sakura. and I definitely plan on playing this again soon. Capcom got a hit with this one, and you can say the same thing about these next two games, Mega Man Legends and Mega Man Legends 2. So these two games are action RPGs, and I think this is the first time that Mega Man has ever been in 3D. In this game, you can explore dungeons, fight these big robots called Reaver bots, upgrade your Buster Cannon. You can explore the city. It was a fun time. And I think Trombone and the Serve bots made their debut starting with these games. But this game is also clunky. Like, you can't run and shoot at the same time in the first Mega Man Legends, but they fixed those issues in the second game. I prefer Mega Man Legends 2 because it's an overall improvement from the first one. But the first one is still good, but both games definitely show their age at time. And I do not have the Misadventures of Trombone. The game is way too expensive, and it's one of those games I'll never get to own physically, I feel. Hold on, maybe I shouldn't say that, because I said the same thing about this next game. This next game is expensive too, but I ended up getting it through a trade. It's Lunar Silver Star Story. This is a turn-based RPG, and it looks like it belongs on the Super Nintendo. The graphic style looks like it's from a generation behind, but that's okay. But I think this was on the Sega Saturn before it came out on the PlayStation. And this is the only game where I have the outer box like this. It's kind of damaged. This game is from Working Designs, and I don't know if you ever noticed this, but when Working Designs released an RPG for the PlayStation, they always went ham. There's a bunch of extras included with the game itself. Let me show you what's in here. So this game comes with a thick boy manual. It even comes with its own bookmark. In the manual, it contains character artwork, a mini strategy guide, editor's notes, and my copy actually comes with a cloth map you can see right here. Fancy, huh? Now, if only I can open it. Hold on. Got it. Okay. There you can see the world map, which is pretty cool. And the game comes with 4 discs. There's 3 game discs, and then one is the musical soundtrack. And I don't know what's going on with the artwork on the back, so don't even ask me. I wish more games included things like this nowadays. They should, because modern games are $70 right now, not including the DLC. Working Designs didn't even have to go this hard, but I appreciate it. It's a chore getting these items back into the box after I open them. Stupid flap, get in there. I don't have a problem with doing this for the next game. Lunar 2. I just have the case and disc. I wouldn't mind having the outer box and the other extras. So this is a follow-up to the first Lunar game I just showed you. So a complete version of this game comes with a thick boy manual, a soundtrack, a pendant that the main character wears, and a memory card sticker. Oh, and I think it comes with a cloth map with the outer box. My copy just includes the 4 discs and the case. I'm still on the hunt for the manual and the outer box. So I haven't played these games yet, but I hear good things about them. I need to be in the right type of mind to even attempt to play long games like these. Like they say, so many games, so little time. I'll get to these games eventually, and I hope to get to this one pretty soon too. Arc the Lag Collection. This is another Working Designs game. Earlier I said I only had one tactical RPG. I want to make a correction. This is another tactical RPG I have. Well, technically there are 4 games included in this compilation. Arc the Lag 1, 2, 3, and Arc Arena Monster Tournament. And I believe there's a making of disc as well. And as you can probably tell, this was done by Working Designs again. I'm just missing the outer box. I have the thick boy manual. I was able to find that for cheap. And just like the Lunar manual, it has character artwork, mini strategy guide, tips, editor notes, you name it. It's a cool little compilation. Alright, that's enough RPGs for now. The next game is Moto Racer 2. Moto Racer 2 is a motorcycle racing game. It's alright. It's arcade style, and it also includes a level editor, which is out of the norm for the PlayStation. It's kind of dated, but I had fun with it. I wasn't that good at it. It's not my favorite racing game that's on this system, but it's not bad. Kind of forgettable though. Oh wow, here's a throwback. Pandemonium. This is a platformer which has ugly graphics now. I tried playing this a couple years ago and my eyes were bleeding. not for real, but yeah, this game is kind of hard on the eyes now. There were two characters you can pick from, a jester and the girl, Nikki. The jester had a magic talking wand that could shoot projectiles, but the girl, you could jump with her. The talking wand was annoying, so I always chose the girl. I remember this game being hard, especially near the end, so I couldn't even beat this, and I ended up YouTubing the ending. Parappa the Rapper is one of my favorite PlayStation games of all time. So this is the second PlayStation game I've ever gotten right after Mortal Kombat 4. My parents didn't like me playing violent video games, and we compromised on getting this. Currently, I have this in a protective case, and I don't feel like taking it out. This is a rhythm game. You play as a rapping dog, and he can rap with the best as long as he believes. But if you watch my PSP Collection video, it's pretty much the same game. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this game again. While Parappa is silly and cartoony, the next game is more serious, Parasite Eve. This is a horror survival game where people spontaneously combust, except for the main character Aya, who is a police officer. You play as Aya to uncover the truth behind people bursting into flames and putting a stop to the evil behind it. Even though this game comes with 2 discs, it's not that long of a game. That is, if you don't do any side missions. Even though I'm not much of a horror survival guy, I enjoyed this game very much. I got this game during the Christmas holiday season, and this is when the game takes place. The story is very captivating, and this game has one of the best intro movies ever. I have one other horror survival game, and that's Parasite Eve 2, the sequel. I didn't beat this game fully, and in my opinion, this game tries to be like Resident Evil, and it should have stuck to the original formula. In both games, you fight mutated animals, mutated people, there's even puzzle solving, but I couldn't get used to the tank controls, which were introduced in the sequel. This game comes with 2 discs as well, and a creepy looking manual. Perhaps I should give this playthrough a second chance. I got this, I think, back in 2018, and it's just been sitting here collecting dust. I forgot where I left off, but I'll return to this someday. And the next game, wait for it. There it is. Revelations Persona. This by far is my most valuable game I have in my collection. This is the original Persona. This is a turn-based RPG where you can control teenagers that can summon demons. They call them personas though, mid-battle, and have them fight other demons. Crazy concept, you might say, but this series is still going because Persona 5 The Phantom X is about to release as I'm making of this video. So the formula works, and it started with this game, and it shows because it's very primitive compared to the later releases. For instance, whenever you walk around, it's in the first person view. Also, navigating the menu can be a pain because they overcomplicate things, but the current Persona games made things better. It's still a fun game. Metal Slug X is basically a remake of Metal Slug 2. It's just a run and gun type of game. You know this series. If you never played it, you at least heard of it. However, this version performs better. I think Metal Slug 2 was just a little bit slower than this. Also, in this version, the music has been remixed. There are more power-ups, and if your character eats the food items, I mean a lot of it, to increase their health, they can get fat. And it's funny because I like watching fat people run. This is a super fun game to have, and I think it recently came out on the Switch. Gunfighter: The Legend of Jesse James is a first-person shooter. It was primarily designed to be played with the Gun-Con, but you can also play this with the controller or the PS1 mouse if you have it, and it controls pretty well. And this game is very short. It takes an hour or less to beat. If you ever played the Time Crisis games, then you will know what to expect. Because this game plays similar, you shoot the bad guys, hide when necessary, reload, you know, that sort of thing. So the next game is Oddworld: Abe's Exodus. This is a platformer where you take control of one of the most ugliest video game characters ever, but he's cool. And you have to save the other creatures that looks like him. But at the same time, you have to avoid and outmaneuver getting caught and killed by the enemies. This is a hard game, especially if you're trying to go for the good ending, where you have to save everybody, which I recommend doing, by the way. I do like the death animations that occurs whenever you lose, sort of like how they did with the Crash Bandicoot games, but in this game, the consequences are more serious, and the story is very sad. If you know, you know. So the next game is another platformer, Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle. Not too many people talk about this game. I wonder why. If you played the original Pitfall, which was on the Atari, you played as Pitfall Harry. But in Pitfall 3D Beyond the Jungle, you actually play as Pitfall Harry Jr., who is voiced by Bruce Campbell. So you'll be hearing quips and one-liners while playing the game. I haven't beaten this game yet, but I used to play this demo all the time. But in the full game, I got stuck on a boss and I gave up on it when I was younger. But maybe I should pick this game back up? It might be coming to a stream near you. What else do I have to show off? Pocket Fighter. If you ever wanted to see some of your favorite Street Fighter characters in the chibi style, then this is the game for you. I like to compare this game to Virtua Fighter Kids because it's one of those games that doesn't take itself serious, but it can still be competitive at the same time. The moves that the characters pull off are some of the most craziest I've ever seen. It's very cartoony, cute, and funny all at the same time. And there are a few Darkstalker and Red Earth characters you can play with as well in this. It's one of those fun fighting games that you'll never see anyone say is their favorite, but you're still in for a good time whenever you play this. And another Guncom game I have is Point Blank 2. I used to have the first one, but I traded it shortly before making this video. So this is an arcade shooter where you have to shoot a bunch of targets like bullseye, flying birds, and there is a memory matching game on here where you have to shoot two cards that have the same shape or symbol on it. And there are missions where you have to shoot a bunch of targets within a certain amount of time. This game really tests your reflexes and it's a blast to play. Plus there's a quest mode. You have to play shooting mini games in like these think fast situations. Pro Pinball Fantastic Journey. What can I say? It's just pinball on the PlayStation. If you ever played one of these games, then you know what to expect here. So I was never any good at the actual pinball machine. What I like about these type of games is that you can start over as many times as you want. If you lose, that is. There's usually infinite balls cheat. I don't think this game has that. I might need to look into getting a different pinball game. I don't have Kiss Pinball, but I've been curious to see how it plays. Puzzle Star Suite. More or less, it's a Tetris clone. You have to go head to head against a computer-controlled opponent, in story mode that is. And this is what I consider a bargain bin game. I remember paying less than $5 for my copy, and it didn't take that long for me to beat. It wasn't that hard, so it served its purpose. And if you watched part 1 of my PS1 collection, I think this has the same dev as Block Kids and Board Game Top Shop. And this is where I'm going to end part 2 of my PS1 collection. I don't want to make this video too long, so be on the lookout for the next video. So STFM, stay tuned for more.